It's a wild through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringer, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, the Dauphin, he can hit them. Hey! The Dauphin! Has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello everybody, welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us as we talk about England making consecutive European Championship finals. Who saw this coming after that Serbia game? Eh? Who saw this coming? So we'll talk about that for the next however long it takes to talk about it. Mick, how are we?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Thank you very much. Sorry for the late start. It was nothing to do with me whatsoever. Just want to add that. But I'll throw anybody under the bus who wants to be thrown under it. Not a problem.
My fault, not my fault. My children's fault. Their dancing that was meant to finish at 7:15 actually finished at 8 o'clock. So, kids. Danny, how are you?
A little bit sore in the head, if I'm being honest. But yeah, like you've just introduced there, another European final for England, back to back. England's men's, that is. And what a feeling. What an absolute joyous feeling it is. And I pray that on Sunday it's one better than last time.
Yes, I hope so. Benjamin, living the high life of all England fans, you've only known glory or almost glory. How are you feeling today?
Almost glory. Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Better than what I used to experience growing up, mate.
Yeah, I've never experienced that, yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we're all happy. John says, evening all, his hangover today was completely worth it.
Yeah.
As well, yeah. I get that. We'll talk about the game in a minute, Mick. But consecutive European finals. The first. Before I even get to, we're talking about men's team. Nobody get upset about me saying it's first sort of championship final on foreign soil. It's men. We're talking about the England men's team tonight. It's the first tournament we've got. First final on foreign soil, Mick.
Yeah.
That is. I didn't think about that prior to the tournament. I didn't think, we've never done that before.
No.
But then when you think about it, that's an incredible achievement for
Germany as well.
In Germany as well.
Yeah,
backyard of our great rivals.
The irony. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, we've done a podcast now for the last 3 weeks, talking England mainly, and there's been lots and lots of spouting off by all of us and people in the comments about how poor we've been and how rubbish we've been, and here we are sitting, staring down the barrel of another final, or looking. You know, it's bizarre, but yeah, I think on the balance of it, certainly last night we were deserved winners. I don't think the same can be said for the performances overall for the rest of the tournament, but you know, it's irrelevant, isn't it? And it is irrelevant despite everything that we've all said. So, but it's great. Love it. I love it.
Yeah, like I said, we'll talk about the specifics in a minute, Danny. But England have come in for a significant amount of criticism this tournament, and justifiably so, because some of these performances have been poor. Or well, poor is an understatement. I think up until the Bellingham goal at Slovakia, Slovenia, Denmark, second half of Serbia, there's been some awful England performances, but you can only credit them for where we are now and Gareth Southgate, because this team has grown into the tournament. You can't question that, and nobody can ever take it away from him and his team what they've achieved, not only this tournament but the last 4 tournaments.
No, 100%. I mean, excuse me, my voice is still coming back. I think we can all agree up until the Slovakia game, until Bellingham's goal in the Slovakia game, England have been below par in every single game that we've played in, despite winning all but 2 of them. But that almost seemed like the catalyst, like the kick up the arse, where it's like, you know what, we actually need to start pulling away here. And even in that Slovakia game in extra time, after Harry Kane's goal, we still fell into the old trap of sitting back. But since we changed it a little bit and played a bit more openly, we have been the better team at times. Like, you could argue against Switzerland, because it was the sudden switch, it didn't quite work, if that makes sense. Like, we still allowed Switzerland into the game a little bit, but against the Netherlands, especially in the first half, the way England actually played football, regardless of going behind first or the penalty that was a bit ambiguous, we played better football. And even in the second half, when the Netherlands switched to a higher press, we still played the better football. And I think Southgate has also grown into the tournament as a manager because he knew exactly when to bring Watkins on against the Netherlands because they were pressing higher. So you brought on the player that makes the runs in behind. And lo and behold, he scored the winning goal. The players after the Serbia game said it's tournament football. We can't be going out and beating teams 3 or 4-0, despite playing for teams that do beat every other team 3 or 4-0. And we all sort of brushed it off as a bit of, what they're on about. And we're one of the better teams at this tournament, but they've sort of shown us that even after playing shockingly and scraping through by the barest of margins, they can still turn up when, the gloves are off and everything needs doing. And isn't it funny how we play better after we've got a goal behind? How weird's that?
Yeah. That's what we do. We make things difficult for ourselves.
Exactly.
There's something about this team, though, Ben. I tweeted out last night after the Bellingham goal against Slovakia. There seemed like a bit of a mentality shift from this lot, where they kind of just, and I think certainly for me as a fan as well, I kind of think, wow, there's something happening. This team won't die. They just won't go away. They were on the floor against Slovakia and they came back at the very end. They were, a kick or two away from losing against Switzerland and they managed to put it through on penalties. This happens to teams in tournaments, and it's just that kind of never say die attitude and determination to say, right, this is ours, we're winning this. And this team kind of feels like, for me, they've developed that. I didn't start with it. I think they've developed that mentality this tournament. Yeah,
definitely. Because especially international football, it's really hard to make the team a group because they play, especially in England, they play against each other and a lot of teams hate each other and there's bitter rivalries. So when you come to play together, it is hard to kind of gel. But a moment like that overhead kick, from going the bottom emotions to the best and the top of the kind of roller coaster, that kind of bonds you together. And all it takes is one moment. You've seen it happen so many times. Playing crap, dead and out, moment of brilliance from one player, and everyone's just re-energized. Everyone's got a different belief. Everyone's got confidence. And it can spark a team. It can spark a team in club football and international football, but especially international football, because that's all you need. You get a little bit of belief and a little bit of confidence together, you will beat teams, because it's so hard to gel as a group when you're together for 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the tournament. It is so hard, coming from different systems as well. But I also think the team is quite young, so it's kind of naive to the point where it's like they obviously feel the pressure, but like it's not passed down as much. It's like if it's a slow turnover of age, you kind of get passed on the pressure of England, and you kind of, as a young player, you see it from the older players, and then you become that. Because we've got so many young players, it's kind of like that naivety to just kind of, like Foden's always wanting the ball. Same with Bellingham and same with other young players. It's kind of naivety to not feel that pressure as much and not understand the implications as much. And I mean, it's a positive. It really is a positive.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. Not England related, Harry says, but has it been brought up before that Ben looks like Ben Hatton, the Rotherham youngster? We've got another one. We've got another one for you, Ben.
Oh, no.
Sorry, mate. But yeah. Well, it reminds me of the Steve Evans team first time. In the first season of Steve Evans' proper season, we were kind of floating away to the edge of the playoffs, and then 4 or 5, I think it was 5 or 6 games actually before the end of the season, something just clicked, and I think we won the last 5 games of the season and went up in second place. And it was the same kind of mentality for me. We're doing this now. Something that, we are now bonded as a group, and we're going to do it. And it was League 2. It's different levels. Don't get me wrong, but we did it, and I think there's a kind of a similar mentality to it, which we've seen how many times in football we've seen that mentality come through and be successful. The moment of the night, Mick, Ollie Watkins. And it's almost the Jamie Vardy-esque story from where he came from to the top level. Maybe even better because Watkins seems like it can be a success for England, whereas Vardy kind of struggled a little bit. But that moment, that goal, what a finish! I said, he had no right to get it in from that angle, no right at all. Defenders thinking, oh, I've got him here, I've pushed him out wide, and then keeper's thinking it's all right, it's gravy, and then it just nestles in. It's just one of the best finishes that I can think. It's just such a good finish.
It's a great finish. It's an absolutely great finish, and there's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that he fully intended to do exactly that. You know, but it could have gone anywhere, obviously, but it didn't. It just nestled beautifully just inside the post, past the keeper's fingers, and just inside the post. Great finish, great composure, a lovely first touch, lovely turn. Got a little bit lucky, I would argue, by getting up to the defender's legs, I think.
Yeah,
I disagree.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying I didn't mean to do it, but you know, it's always you've got to hit it, you've got to strike it right, and your timing's got to be bang on and everything else, and it just was. And then it's one of those moments, isn't it? It is one of those footballing moments as a football supporter, whether it be your club or your country. You know, you're in a semi-final, or you're in 91st minute of 93, and all of a sudden your striker turns around and does that. It's like you remember it, and you will remember. I mean, Ollie Watkins, fantastic foot lad. Like you said, the story is just wonderful. It's great through Exeter and on non-league clubs, and I think Western Superman. I think he's played, and you know, I don't know. Well, can't be more than 4 or 5 years ago, you know. And here he is scoring. I don't know when it was, but he's scoring a winning goal in a European Championship semi-final to put his team through to final. It's things that dreams are made of. You know, for him and like Ben said, for the other players in that team, the other young players in that team, it's brilliant. It's beautiful thing.
Where does that rank, Mick? Because we talked about the Bellingham goal. That's one of the, in context and quality, it was up there because it's a team. It's every country, plus it's a stunner. This is even more important, and it's as difficult technically to score that goal from that angle, probably.
Yeah. It's one of those things, isn't it? You know, I've seen a few people saying, "Is it the best goal England ever scored?" No, it's not. You know, in terms of ability and everything else, but you've got to add into the mix the significance of it as well. You know, so it's one of these. You know, who's the best team? What is the best goal? Yeah. It's all subjective. You know, what I think might be the best goal, you won't, and I know we'll disagree on some things coming up. So you know, it is subjective. It's hugely significant for England, obviously, because it puts us through to European Championship final. It's hugely significant for Ollie Watkins because it has the potential to be a career-defining goal. You know, so whether it's the best is up for debate, and there will never be an answer to it. But my argument will be no, it's not. But
that'll be many people's favourite England goal ever, probably.
Yeah, exactly that, and I guess that's what best means, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, probably is. Then that was apparently the latest ever goal scored in a semi-final of a European Championship or World Cup before extra time.
Really?
It's quite something. Wow. But that feeds into what we were just talking about a minute ago about this team have just got something about them where they're just going to find a way to get over the line. And that just feeds into it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great finish from Ollie Watkins, but he's done that sort of goal time and time again for Villa over his career there, and I imagine Exeter as well. But I think the credit goes to Watkins himself for the finish, but also I think for Southgate for seeing how he could change the game with the substitute. And like you say, it is one of the most significant goals ever. I would argue that Shaw's goal was a bit more significant because it was England's first goal in any major final since '66. But this one has to be one of the favourites, doesn't it? Like, I don't know about you three, but I went absolutely bananas when that went in. Like, I nearly dove over a pool table. It was like, no, restrain yourself, don't do that.
Yeah. And did you see? Have you seen all that from the Killers concert last night?
Yeah.
Just one of the best things I've ever seen. If anybody's not seen it, the Killers just stopped what they were doing for the last 5 minutes of the game the Killers literally sat down on the stage to watch the end, and when the game ended, they went straight into Mr. Brightside. Which was one of the best things.
That's the spirit of the English, though, isn't it? At some point, we've all just rallied around, watched football for the last 10 minutes or a game or whatever, and then just gone about a day again. It also shows how significant that even like at concerts with the Killers, they did it at Glastonbury, at the Ratings gig, everyone shows the football because it is bringing together a country again.
Yeah. Harry said it's very weird to say that somebody who was 12-year-olds has seen the same amount of finals as somebody born in 1967. Yeah,
that's not fair.
Yeah, Ben. Let's move back a bit. Let's talk about the penalty, because this will divide opinion. I think I know it will, because it's divided opinion on the group chat last night. He gave a penalty. Well, he didn't give a penalty, Ben. The referee didn't give the penalty initially. He was instructed by the VAR to go and have a look and decide that it was a penalty. I won't lead the witness. What were your thoughts?
Well, to be honest, I was walking through the door and I heard Mick screaming that's a penalty.
Okay.
So this is the first moments I'd seen of the game. But I don't know. I'm on the fence because there's two sides to it, obviously. He's tried blocking the shot, and you've got to give a defender some leeway. You've got to give it. He's got the shot off fair and square, and then there's been contact. How many times does that happen? But he's gone studs up, and he's caught him at ankle. You can't go studs up in the box, especially because there's a way of blocking a shot, and I don't know what he's tried to do, to be honest, because he's gone studs up. There's only one thing going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's different because I think the problem is that in England, I'm not convinced that's given too much, especially the season went on when there were these things that Howard Webb did. He talked about contact with consequence. What the contact was irrelevant. It didn't impact the shot, did it? The shot was over the bar, so the contact was kind of irrelevant, and I think the defender's entitled to go for it. But Ben's right. Studs are up, foot's up. Mick, you think it's a penalty?
100%. I can't. I'm quite surprised there's even any debate over this. Genuinely, and I'm not. I'm not trying to curry any sort of controversy or anything like that. I'm amazed that there's any debate over it. I went to work this morning and I'm like the only person, and I'm just looking around thinking, what am I listening to here?
You can see why it might not be given, though.
I can't. I have never seen.
In the defender's
let me put it this way. I have never ever seen that challenge not given outside the box ever. It's given 100 times out of 100. It's every time, whether there's contact or not.
It should be different. The bar in the box has got to be higher.
It's a shot. It's a shot. So you've got to give the defender some leeway. Otherwise, you're just restricting them completely.
Well, listen, it's a penalty. If it's a foul, whether it's inside or outside the box, it's a penalty. And that is a penalty.
What I would say is, for VAR, is it clear and obvious that the referee's made a mistake? I think. Well,
he didn't give it.
But we're all debating whether it is or isn't, so therefore it isn't clear and obvious.
I'm not.
I know you're not. But we're saying you're wrong.
Well, you're wrong.
Exactly. That's the point. Go on.
Listen. You know as well as I do. We've all seen it. We've all seen it at our local clubs, our own clubs. You know, when that happens on the touchline in front of Lionel, because usually 9 times out of 10 it's on a touchline in front of linesman as a player goes to cross the ball. Defender comes in, puts his foot up to stop it, and player kicks bottom of his foot. It's given every single time.
It's different.
It's not different.
It is because you've got to give the defender some leeway. You have to give the defender some leeway.
So let me ask you this question. Let me put it the other way around. Okay, let's say that the Dutch player is clearing the ball. Harry Kane goes. Why?
Different. You're missing the point. Because it's a shot. Blocking a shot, you have to give the defender the leeway to block a shot. If someone's clearing it and Kane gets in the way and Kane does that, because it's different.
It's no different.
It is.
Also, did Kane kick him or did the guy kick Kane?
Yeah, well, that's another thing as well.
Kane kicked him. His follow through.
It's a penalty. He's put his foot there. It's the penalty.
If it's the other way around. I mean, if that's given to Holland, I'd be absolutely raging about it, and I would understand that Holland would be as well.
No.
Look, the comments here give you everything you need to know. Harry says anywhere else pitch free kick. Scott Kent says never a penalty in a million years, but it's in the rules. So they are. Shelley says it's a penalty. John says never a penalty. Neil obviously totally agree it's a penalty. Chris said that it wasn't a challenge. Kane kicked him after the shot had happened. That kind of sums it up, really, doesn't it? Danny, we'll finish on you before we talk about other stuff. Penalty, no penalty?
I'll start off by saying, after watching it back many, many, many times, after being very drunk after midnight, I am leaning towards Mick saying it is a penalty. By the definition of the rules, it is a penalty. However, the question has come up whether it is a penalty or not for me with, is the defender making a tackle or is he blocking a shot? You know, if you're saying he's blocking a shot and not making a challenge, then it's follow through with Harry Kane, and that's where it comes into the no penalty argument. If he's making a challenge for the ball, which I actually think he is after watching it back, and he's got his studs up, regardless of whether it's follow through from Kane or not, his studs are up and dangerous in a challenge. That's why it's a penalty. So I can see after the referee watched it back and made the decision very quickly from the screen, that's why he decided it's a penalty. But in real time, and watching it in real time without the ability to be able to pause it like you can on VAR, it sort of looks like the defender's trying to make a block. But slowing it down and looking at it, it becomes more on the side of making a tackle, and that's why it's been given as a penalty. And my explanation is far easier to understand than the so-called expert they've got on ITV, because she thought it wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, well, quickly on that, didn't they?
I think we can argue either way, but I don't think it met the threshold of VAR overturning it. I think she was right on that one. I don't think there was enough for it to be overturned, but it was overturned, so it don't really matter.
I'm sort of like 51-49 on it being a penalty, because by the literal definition, it is one with the studs up.
But the definition, it's 100% it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is the problem. Different countries have a different interpretation. I mentioned something what Howard Webb said about the contact with consequence. I listened to another podcast this morning from a German journalist. The referee was German, and they were saying that in Germany, those have been given the penalties all season. So that German referee is going to have that interpretation, and the German VAR will have that interpretation, whereas in England, it might not necessarily be the same thing. So, but that's the
I mean, I personally think the referee was bribed to give England a penalty because he's got a track record of it, but...
Yeah.
I think Kelly Bob's got it right here. Their guy didn't try and block the shot. He attempted to win the ball, and he didn't. Penalty.
We'll be agreeing to disagree, but also, even if I think you should agree that it's a terrible decision, and we should all go, finally, England have got a terrible decision, go our way. After all these terrible decisions that we've had over the years that have kicked us out of tournaments, we were due one, weren't we? We were due a real shocker.
And the shocker is what John's put there. You notice they missed the Saka handball and the build up to it. It shouldn't have been in the first place.
I mean, it's barely tickled the hair on his hands, has it? Really, it's not really a handball.
We've got Snicko now.
We've got Snicko
in the Euros. So
what about that 𝐁𝐞𝐬𝐭 one then?
Yeah. Anyway,
what's the difference between that and the Denmark one? By the way,
let's not sully this enjoyment of complaining about referees. You know what I mean?
It's a penalty, and we scored it, so that's it.
Yeah,
that's what the record books will say.
We do like scoring penalties in semi-finals, don't we?
We do. Well, Kane missed the last one in the semi-final.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I also
I also like the BBC montage with Graham Taylor referencing the 1993 qualifiers against Holland as well, which again added a bit more. I wasn't around for that one, but I can see the revenge side of things from that as well. So yeah, great stuff BBC on that one. Ben, Harry Kane's been talked about a lot this tournament, and we'll maybe mention him again in a minute, but he stepped up, took the penalty, scored, joint top scorer in the tournament. He's the man you will kind of want in those moments, and Mick criticised him and Danny criticised him last time out, but stepped up, took the penalty, got us back on level terms. It was a really good penalty, to be fair.
It was a brilliant penalty. There's no stopping it. Yeah, I mean, he's the man to have in that situation, you know, regardless of whether he's missed previous. he's the man. He's the captain. He takes the blame if he misses, and he takes the glory if he scores. So yeah, I mean, no else to say really.
Yeah. I thought Mick will stick with Harry Kane for me. I thought he had an improved performance yesterday. I thought we saw the benefits of him dropping deep yesterday. He came deep when he was spraying the ball left, right, and centre. I don't know if he didn't come out as deep or whatever, but there was definitely an improved performance from Harry Kane. I thought maybe Foden playing further forward helped. I don't know.
I think that there's two parts to Harry Kane's performance yesterday. The penalty, like Ben said, he took responsibility, took it well, and that's where you want Harry Kane, right there. And if he's going to be in that area, i.e. the penalty area, for most of the game, play him every game because he will score goals, as he proves time and time again. I think Foden helped him massively yesterday with. We'll come on to Phil Foden, I'm sure, but he was outstanding and he assisted Harry Kane a lot. But for me, Kane was still dropping deep. The difference being this time that the Dutch basically just fell for it and they sent a defender with him every time. None of the other teams that we've played have fallen for egg on that with that one, but the Dutch did, and straight away it opened up space in behind. For the likes of Bellingham and particularly Phil Foden. So it worked. His dropping deep worked yesterday, but it's as much because of the Dutch incompetence, is that the right word, as it is for anything else. And he has to realise that, if he, in previous games, he's not been drawing defenders out. So don't keep doing it. If you're drawing the defenders out, keep doing it, happy days. But it was massively helped by Foden playing in his rightful place.
Beyond Foden, Danny, because that was probably his best performance in the England shirt. I thought Phil Foden at the first half was everything that can be good about this England team. He was free flowing, he was on the turn, he was moving the ball. It was just it's as good as he's played for England. Comfortable to me.
Yeah, best performance in England shirt at this tournament, hands down. And he could have had an hat-trick, Phil Foden, really, couldn't he? Like there was the one that was cleared off the line where everyone in the pub jumped up thinking it had gone in. And it was just, again, it was millimetres. If the ball was like, if the reaction time of the defender wasn't quite as quick as it was, that's England 2-1.
If keeping that touch on it, it goes in, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And then there's the absolute beauty of a whip shot that just, it's the upright. That would have been one of the best goals of the tournament if he'd have got that one in. But he's building up to something special, Phil Foden, and I wouldn't put it past him to actually finally get his goal in the final. But the reason why he played so well, and I watched the video from 442 explaining the tactics. Bearing in mind he was half cut at 1:30 in the morning making this video. But the way the Dutch set up their back four perfectly played into Phil Foden's hands, because it's the same way that that teams set up against Man City. The quick counter attack, catch City on the break. But if they're penned in, Foden's positioning, like it was for England, perfectly brings it down, and that's why he's done so well, because it was cutting inside, getting shots away. He wasn't holding up the ball, looking for a quick pass. He had the outlet of a shot or a wider pass to the byline. And he just played so much better because he knew exactly what he needed to do to break it down. And if Spain set up with a back four like that, where they sort of like try and defend as a back four unit, like teams do against City, then they are in trouble with Phil Foden in the final. They are in massive trouble. And I agree with Mick with Harry Kane as well, with his dropping deep worked, because there's a huge space in the midfield with the Dutch system. But as soon as the Dutch worked it out, Harry Kane went missing in the second half.
He weren't on his own, though, were he, to be fair? But yeah, Dan and Ben, this is the first time we've kind of played a team that aren't structured. Switzerland's like they were back to the wall. We're going to make things difficult for you. Holland tried to be a bit more open, a bit more open. And it worked for us. It benefited us. And Spain will do exactly the same. They'll be a bit more. They've got better players than Holland, so let's get it right. But we're playing teams that are going to allow more space for us because they need more space for themselves. So it could end up being a really entertaining final if we play in the same manner we did in the first half.
Well, Spain is, with all due respect to Switzerland, who I think are the best team we played, Spain are the closest team to us. Spain are the closest team in this tournament, bar France, where it's player for player. This is going to be a really good game of football, you know. So they're not going to sit back. They're not going to put 11 men behind the ball like everybody else has, because they can play with it. They can outplay us with ball, to be honest, because they've been playing ridiculous. So it's going to be interesting to see how our tactics work against a team who doesn't sit in. You know, I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. I really do think we've got a good chance. I really do, because going into the Italy game, it was like, Denmark took us, 120 minutes. You know what I mean? Like and we've just beat Holland 2-1, and probably could have been 3 or 4-1. And it took them an absolute wonder strike, thunderbolt from edge of box to even get a goal. So I think it's much better this time around. I think Spain are better than Italy though. But it's gonna be a good game of football, mate. It really is, because they are so good. And if we can play like we did against Holland for the first half, I think it's gonna be a really good game.
Yeah. I mean, Holland are 7th in the world. They're 7th in the world, so these are no mugs. Southgate gets a lot of stick. And one of the stats that fans throw out, whenever you play a top 10 at world, it always folds. Yeah. And that just was not the case. I was thinking about last night. It reminded me of the Shrewsbury playoff final, where we were so much better than Shrewsbury. We were so much better, but there was always that chance that they might be. But realistically, we were always the better team. And I felt like last night with England, we were just the better team. They had no end product. We should have always won that game last night, and as it turned out, we did. But that's quite a statement that England deserved it, comfortably deserved that win last night. I guess this is a decent Dutch team. It's not they're by semi-finals by rights.
Yeah, they are. They are, but as I've said before, they're pretty dysfunctional, aren't they? And they're not really. They don't strike me particularly as a team. The Spanish do, and we do now. We didn't to start with, but now we've as Ben alluded to earlier on. We start to play as a team now, and there's a good understanding between the players. The Dutch, I don't think, have that, but yeah, we outplayed them. We were by far and away the better side, particularly in the first half. They stifled us in the second. Well,
they went into the Switzerland, Slovakia. They just kind of sat in a bit differently.
Yeah. They flooded the midfield. They didn't allow us to get through there, and it was tedious, that second half. Really, really tedious. But that was because we'd made them change the way that they were playing, which means there's only ever going to be one winner realistically, And as it turned out, that were right. So it was right, right result. What question?
We deserve credit because Holland are classed as a top team, and we beat them.
Yeah, they're not a top team, are they?
Well, they are. They're 7th.
Yeah. Rankings mean nothing, but they don't. When it comes to on the pitch, they don't. And the quality, you can see the quality teams. Belgium have been world number 1 at some stage over the last few years. There's no way they're the best team in the world, just because they've so their rankings are a guide. That's all. The Dutch weren't the best team we've played this, let alone for me anyway. Let alone the best, a semi-final berth. So yeah,
fair enough. A few more players, Danny, that's certainly worth a mention. Mainoo was so good last night. It was probably my man of the match, Mainoo. I thought everything good. I know Foden had the shots and did everything else, but what Foden did actually came from Mainoo. And this is incredible. This guy in February wasn't even in the contention for this England squad, right? I don't think. And he's come in now and he's one of the first names on team sheet, and he's still a kid. He's going to be some player, that lad.
Yeah, I think that for me is the biggest criticism of Southgate this tournament. Why did he not play Mainoo from the start and thought the Alexander-Arnold experiment would work? Because Mainoo, it has been one of the best players in England shirt at this tournament, maybe England's standout player of the tournament completely, because he just never stops working. I mean, just look at the Netherlands game. They got penned in, were about to launch a counter-attack, and Mainoo just gets the interception time and time again. And then England are back on the attack. And in the first half, the Dutch couldn't handle it. But yeah, like you say, in February, he wasn't even in with a sniff of the England squads. He exploded onto the scene at Man United. And it would have been criminal if he didn't take him at all. But Mainoo's been such a presence in midfield. He's made Declan Rice look average this tournament, and Rice has had a decent tournament as well.
Yeah, I think that's harsh on Rice. I think we've asked him to do a different job.
Yes, I suppose. But in terms of how much they've contributed to the team, Mainoo is far above where Rice is at the minute. But that, again, that's no disrespect to Declan Rice. It's just been Mainoo's took it by scruff at neck and done it himself. Possible.
I think Rice is doing the dirty work. And was unlucky last night with the goal. I think he needed help around him, but that's another thing. Any other people that need mentioning? Oh, Ben, let's talk about substitutions because Gareth Southgate has come in for a significant amount of stick with substitutions. Some of it justified, some of it really, really justified. But you bring two subs on and one sets up the other, you can take that off as a perfect substitution, really, can't you?
Yeah, I thought the timing was really poor, though. I
think 5-10 minutes late.
Poor. Timing was late again, but you know they bailed him out of it. So,
but then Southgate may well say that bringing Watkins on that late against those tired legs is one of the reasons the goal was scored, because he had the extra half a yard's worth of pace that the defender didn't have because they've been playing for 80 minutes.
Maybe I'm being an idiot. That could genuinely well be.
Not the first time.
He's a genius. I've said this from day one.
Sorry, nearly died.
Right.
We knew this might happen, lads. Sooner or later, he didn't turn up on time. We thought we were going to have to present it, and now here he is, dying live on screen.
It makes a change. It's normally me that's late and dying on screen.
Yeah, serious man flu this week. Any other players that need mentioning, Mick, that deserve a shout out?
I thought defensively, we were really good. Kyle Walker, some of the tackles, particularly in that, his challenges was just so perfectly timed. You know, it was mad. I thought he had a really good game, Kyle Walker, and I do like that three. Guy came straight back in, fitted in like he'd never been away. He is some player, that lad, isn't he? Yeah. You know, he's a proper centre half, and good on the ball as well. His first touch is beautiful, and he's made a couple of mistakes, but he's young. But you know, he's gonna do that. But he's recovered from them as well. You know, he's not just sort of sat there licking his wounds. He's got up and recovered. So I thought defensively we were really, really good, and I like those three. It's a good strong back three. Bellingham's still not hit his straps yet, and he does look tired. Yeah, he does, which is understandable given the season that he's had. You know, I mean, he's had a massive season, and it's one more last push for Bellingham, and hopefully he can show his strengths on Sunday night. But I just thought overall, first half team performance was excellent, and I just join in with applaudits for Kobe Mainoo, because he is some player. That lad is going to be some player. He's got a massive future in front of him. I remember seeing him for Man U earlier in the season, and I'd not heard of him, and I didn't think he was English. I didn't think he could possibly be English, because he was that good, and he'd not been around England squad. So I thought, well, he must be from somewhere else. I was really shocked to see that he was English. And he's sort of gone from not even being in the squad for a lot of the qualifiers, I think, to being one of the first names on a team sheet in a European Championship final. Yeah, excellent player. Top lad.
John Morell says, Stones thinks Stones need a mention from a defender. Everyone was scared would make a mistake. He's now one key to our back line. Yeah. That's what playing under Pep does for you. To be fair, he's been drilled under Pep, and he had the tools, and he's made pay with that. And like I said, I think he's the most decorated English defender in history already. I think. Hopefully, he can get another one. That trophies he's won at City is incredible, isn't it? So
Yeah, it is, and he works so well with Kyle Walker.
Yeah,
you know, I know there's that Yorkshire thing going on there and everything else, but it's not. It's obviously not just like this, the City thing as well, and they do work so well together.
Yeah. Yes, they absolutely do. Let's talk about the final. We don't often say that on this podcast. Let's talk about the final. So soak that in. But yeah, Spain are a good team, Danny. But, and I may regret saying this on Sunday, but I think we all need to calm down about Spain a little bit. The draw they've had is relatively kind of. I know I'm an English fan saying they've had a kind draw, but they've not had that bad a draw. You know, the only teams they beat was Germany, who were not where they should be. So I don't think they almost did a penalties for that. And they beat a France team, and France have been well off at this tournament. They've then beat Georgia. Everybody should be beating Georgia. I know Portugal didn't, but everybody should be beating Georgia.
We're 1-0 down.
Yeah, absolutely right. But they still won 4-1.
Yeah, I know, but they went 1-0 down.
They beat Italy in the groups. Italy are not a very good Italy team. They beat Albania in the group, so is Albania. And they beat a Croatian team who were well past it. So they have, what I'm trying to say, kind of thing, is they haven't really had a challenge, Danny. And based on our performance, certainly the first half yesterday, this should be their first big challenge. And teams that often aren't challenged until the final can trip up because they haven't had to work through it, if that kind of makes sense, like England have had to. So I don't know. I think I'm getting infected with the coming home disease.
I think we all are to a certain point. Can we just have a moment of silence for Jamal Musiala, who chose Germany over his England's national team because we're in the final and Germany aren't? Ha ha. But yeah, like you say, I mean, Spain's close to the final. In terms of teams you expect to do well, they have had the quote unquote harder side of the draw. But again, looking at it, the game where they really turned up was against Germany because they sort of had home advantage. But again, like I said, Germany aren't where they are. France, on paper, they've beaten the World Cup finalists, but this France team have been so off it this tournament. They've been nowhere near where they were 2 years ago. Whereas England have sort of steadily built up. All right, it's against countries who, you know, you wouldn't say they are a test by the name, if you like, but like Switzerland have had a good tournament, Slovakia have had a good tournament, the Netherlands have had an all right tournament given the circumstances, like we've mentioned before, where they're not really a completely united team. But yeah, I think it's sort of harking back to the last Euros, but the reverse. I feel as though England are more in Italy's position this time around. And in terms of how they've played going through the tournament, England going as the slight underdogs, in my opinion, just because Spain have been more consistent in their performances. But they've not come up against a team who has the momentum with them. And England have definitely got the momentum with them now. Ever since the Slovakia game, we've had the winds in our sails, whereas Spain, the quality of the teams brought them through. But when it comes down to a final, and both teams are up for it, momentum will carry you through. Again, not to put too fine a point on it because, you know, it's coming home, that sort of thing. It's coming home again. But it's going to be a cracking game to watch. I think it's going to be such a close game where there'll be one goal in it. And it's one of the few games where I'll say the team who scores first will actually be at a disadvantage because Spain have come from behind quite often, as have England. So I think if the first team to score early is in trouble, if they score after 30 minutes, they may see out the game with a 1-goal lead. But if you score within 10 minutes, you're in trouble because the other team will fight back like a bat out of hell to bring the game around. Yeah.
John says Spain's midfield worries them. If they have time and space, they'll pick us apart defensively. They are suspect. They've got Rodri. Yeah, Rodri. Danny Olmo had a good game against France as well. But they've got issues though, Ben. They had Jesus Navas at fullback, 38-year-old Jesus Navas at fullback. When your man up top is Alvaro Morata,
Finny,
then you've got.
Really shagging on the podcast. Sorry, Finn's being very loud and annoying in the background. I think he's got his coming home fever as well.
But then they've got issues, Ben. You know, Morata's shown at the top level he's not quite got it at the top level. So you're not coming up against Mbappe or something like that up top and like I said, I think they are there to be got at the back. But that midfield is a very, very good midfield. One of the best.
I think Rodri's unbelievable, and I think the is it Fabian? He was
Fabian Ruiz.
Yeah, I think he was at Napoli. He's a really good player.
Yeah,
they have got some weaknesses. Like I said, man for man, I think we're better. Morata's not up there, but I think the wingers make up for it. Yeah. I think again the naivety of someone like Yamal, 16, he's kind of too young to kind of understand it in a way. Understand the implications of if he fails. So he don't even think about that. He just thinks about winning because you can't even imagine losing because he's so young. So I think that will help them, but it could go the other way. He could be, he could be absolutely terrified. He don't look like it, but he might be. I'm hoping he is. But you say Navas is a problem for them. Carvajal will play against us.
Carl back, yeah.
But Navas still clocking. He's still clocking the fourth quickest time.
He's not a fullback though, is he? Or he might have gone back to Spain and made himself a fullback. For City, was a good attacker.
Yeah, but that happens, doesn't it? Look at that happens with so many people. Look at Rooney.
Well, I suppose
ended up as a centre half, didn't he? But yeah, I think there are some weaknesses to exploit, but Rodri is just so good. He's so good, Rodri. He just controls the game. He's just so good. But I think if we can shut down their wingers, I think we might be able to kind of hold them, because Morata just seems to be there to do a job and be the captain rather than be the talisman. Which is quite good at, to be honest. Watching their games, he looks like a really good leader for them and a guy to kind of take the blame and take the fall. But I think if we can get on Yamal and put him in row Z nice and early, put him in advertising boards, I think might have a chance.
Fair enough. You'll start Guy Branston and just look first challenge.
Yeah, and then get Dennis Wise on him.
Chris Taylor asked a Spain peak too early. It's an interesting point. It's what Danny just mentioned a minute ago, Mick. Last tournament, England had a great tournament, beaten some good teams and battered into Ukraine, for example, and done that. Whereas Italy had kind of scraped to an extra time against Austria. They beat Spain on penalties. They kind of tripped over the finishing line to get to the final. But because the battle hardened, they were ready for England. They went 1-0 behind, but it's fine 1-0 behind because we got able to come back. Goes to penalties, we're fine. We've been there, we've done it, and they won on penalties. We're kind of the Italy. But then I looked to the right. We're the Italy in this equation because Spain have had it so easy. They've not really had anything to come up against. No, I can't think what the word is, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean the reality is that they have played some. If you go back to what we were talking about with England, Netherlands, they played some top quality sides, top ranked sides. They played the hosts, and so they're not on an easy journey, but they've been better. They've just been better than everybody that they played. They play some lovely football, don't they? And they're going to be very difficult. They're going to be a really tough opponent, and as soon as things start going wrong, they'll start throwing themselves on the floor as well, because they've got that in their locker as well. The young lad Yamal, I think, is going to be an issue for us, particularly if he's playing down that right hand side, because on the left hand side defensively we are very weak. If we're weak anywhere, that's where we are weak, on that left hand side. Trippier's not blessed with pace. Shaw is blessed with even less pace. He looks like he should be. He looks like he should be stood outside at pitch at half time having a fag and sucking on an orange, didn't he? You know what I mean? That's his kind of build and the way he looks. So to have a 16-year-old with pace to burn running at him, it's not what we don't want that, do we? We really don't. So I think that's where the issues are going to come for us.
Yeah.
But like you said, defensively, I don't think they are anything to write home about. And if we can get at them and pin them back for long enough, I think we could cause some problems, particularly down our right side. So it's sort of for both teams. Defensively, the left side is a problem, I think. Spain have obviously got Sideshow Bob running that left.
That's a brilliant comment.
So you would expect, I would hope that Saka will tear him a new one down that side. So both teams, there's got that kind of imbalance defensively. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game.
It will. It won't be, will it? It'll be terrible. It'll be 0-0.
It'll be absolutely tedious. It'll be 0-0, extra time, and either a fluky goal of somebody's backside or penalties, won't it? But it should be a very good game.
Yeah, it should be. Can you see anything other than being a slugfest though, Danny? Can you? I think the way I see it is, I think they're both trying to out-tactic each other. And I think they'll just cancel each other out, and it'll take a moment of quality or a mistake to win it 1-0 probably.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think it'll come down to a numbers game, basically. Whoever creates the most progressive chances will eventually get a pop at goal, and it will win the game, which is why I won't put it past Foden to get a goal in that one. If he has the number of chances he had against the Netherlands, and they allow him that space on the edge of the 18-yard box, that goal that hit the crossbar will probably go in against Spain. It might come down to Spain winning the World Cup in 2010. Nothing happened in that game until that one Iniesta chance in extra time, and that won the game for him. And that could be it, basically. Imagine how quality it'd be, though, if Jordan Pickford kept a clean sheet in a European final.
Yeah, be the first Englishman to keep a clean sheet in a final.
Mm.
I tweeted this out yesterday, but anybody who doesn't see the tweet, England, either way, England are record breakers on Sunday. They can either go on to win their first ever European Championship, or they can be the first team ever to play in consecutive European Championship finals and lose them both. So either way, we're in the record books one way or another, win or lose. Back on the tactics a little bit, Ben. Spain will be with the wide men. It could hurt us, but if they have the two wide men, somebody put in the comments, we're going to play essentially four in midfield: Mainoo, Rice, Bellingham, Foden. If they're playing two wide men, that's going to allow extra space in the middle to allow particularly Bellingham and Foden to run around a little bit more. And that would be a mistake from Spain's point of view. You can't allow those four men in midfield to have that time and space. So they've got to do something to counteract that, because that could hurt them, really hurt them.
Yeah, it would be if they didn't have Rodri in there.
It's only
they
one.
Can rely on that. They can rely on Rodri because he can sort it out, because he's so good. I honestly, first of all, I'm not a football manager. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Don't know anything, right? And none of us do. So let's not allow with Pep and we're analysing the games, right? But Rodri is so good in midfield, but it's not as simple as that, because Yamal and Williams go out. What's the word? Just going to put four in midfield and leave them one-on-one with our fullbacks. That's not a good idea at all. That's really not a good idea. So that's not going to happen. It's not as simple as that, I don't think.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, you want to do? We can do that, and we can leave him out one-on-one with Trippier. So
it'll be short. It'll be short that plays.
It'll be short. Oh, even better.
Yeah.
No offense, I love Luke.
I love
Luke Shaw. I love Luke Shaw. He, like Mick said yesterday, he can whip a mean ball in. I do like you, Luke Shaw. He's
a better left back than Trippier as well. To be fair,
but he's a left.
Trippier
played left back for Madrid though. So it's not, because he's not left footed don't mean he can't play left back. Dennis Irwin played left back for years for Man United. And he was right.
I thought Trippier was good yesterday. Actually, I thought it was really, really good Trippier in the first half. I thought it was harsh to get subbed.
It's the problem for Kieran Trippier at left back is defensively fine, but he's so limited when he goes forward, because you know that he's going to have to come back inside to put any form of decent crossing. So it's kind of, he's telegraphed straight away that if Kieran Trippier is on the overlap, he's going to have to cut back inside. So you might as well just show him outside, because he ain't going to put one in with his left foot unless he's very, very lucky. So, whereas Luke Shaw, on the other hand, is a different kettle of fish. However, he's not keeping up with a 16-year-old, is he? Not happening.
Possibly not. So we're going to talk about Rotherham for a second in a minute. But are we winning? Is it coming home on Sunday?
Yeah, sod it. Why not? Yeah, it's coming home.
Ben?
Yeah, definitely.
Here we go. Easy. You might as well just say it's easy.
Yeah, I'm not even going to watch it, mate.
You're going to camp out ready for parade whenever that starts.
Yeah, mate, I'm just going to put 100 quid on it and then wait at Wembley or wherever the parade's going to be.
Might get a bank holiday if we win, so that's even more reason for him to win.
Well, that's definitely not going to happen, is it? No, I don't think we will. I'd like to, and it'd mean a lot. It'd mean a lot to me for us to do that. But I just feel Spain might just have too much for us. May go to extra time, but I think they'll have too much for us. Sorry.
Fair enough. All I would say is that Spain, except 2008 to 2012, have historically been a team of almosts, haven't they? They're not a Germany or Italy. Have always done really well in tournaments. Always got really deep.
We've only got one World Cup as well.
One World Cup, technically 3 Euros, but one was a 1968 win, which they won it. But
that's coming from the supporter of a team that is almost.
Absolutely.
Only
what I'm saying is, if this were Italy or Germany, I'd be going, well, they're tournament teams. They know how this is done. They know how to get it done. Spain aren't historically that team.
But your point, and that's the point we made right at the beginning of the Euros on this podcast. England starts slow. Gareth Southgate knows how to navigate through tournaments, and he's been criticised for just that thing.
Yeah.
And here we are sitting in a final. So he obviously does know how to do it because he's done it consistently 3 out of the last 4 times. So yeah. Who knows?
I think I give us a really, really good chance on Sunday. I can really see us doing it. Right, we're going to go in a minute because I'm feeling like I want to just collapse into a ball. But we just 2 bits thing. First of all, you might be shocked to hear we will not be doing a show on Sunday at 8 o'clock. I know that might be a surprise. That's not happening. So we're going to do Monday evening instead, which will be. I thought I told you. Honestly, brain's gone this week. Honestly, brain's gone. We'll do Monday evening because when else are we going to do a show? And then we'll continue. We might drop Thursdays from next week to the start of the season, but we'll talk about it and I'll make a decision and then forget to tell these, and then that's how it works in this kind of thing. So yeah, that's just let you know. Second, let's finish on the Rotherham signing this week. Mick Joseph Hungbo, I think. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Signed on loan from Nuremberg. Comes with glowing references from basically everywhere he's been. It seems like a really, really good signing. But we don't know him, do we? That's a difficult thing. We don't know.
No, looks promising. Looks really promising. A lot of pace. When a really strong left foot, scores goals and puts balls in box. What more could you want? Mm-hmm. I know you put in the private chat the part of the interview that the Watford podcast done. You put with Malky Mackay. It worried me. I'll be honest. It worried me because Malky Mackay was glowing about the lad, but he talked about him being one of these players that needs an arm around the shoulder and cajoling and encouraging and and chatting to, and I don't know whether our manager's up for that. I know Ben would disagree with me. I've already had this conversation with him, but that's not the reputation that our manager has. So that's the only slight downside to that. But look, he comes with glowing references, like you say. So let's wait and see. Be nice to see that smile running up and down the touchline at New York after scoring a few goals, wouldn't it? So
yeah, it would. I think Steve Evans is one of those characters. If he takes to somebody, he can be that man. Yeah, but he has to really take to them. If John Swift is a really good example. The one I will always come back to under Steve Evans is that John Swift came on loan from Chelsea and looked good. He played 2 or 3 games and looked really, really good. But he had 1 bad 45 minutes, and that was it. We literally never saw him again. He's going to have a pretty good championship career. So that's a bit of a concern, Danny, that Steve Evans hasn't always been the best man to manage younger players. But he might have changed. It's been 10, 11 years or whatever it's been. So he might be a different guy now.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, like I said, Hungbo comes with glowing references from other managers. There's a bit of a worry with Evans' man management, but from his own mouth, so take that bit of salt and throw it over your shoulder. He says that he has been working close with Rob Scott. So they've obviously both seen this lad and liked him. And, you know, maybe he's a bit out of favour at Nuremberg and he maybe wants to come back to England. You know, maybe wants to come home like the Euros, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited to see what he's all about. You know, it seems like he's up for it and that he's a hungry player. Huddersfield really rated him. He scored some quality goals for him. But let's just see if Evans can get a tune out of him, because if he can't, then I can see him going back in January. But I really hope he comes in. He's a winger as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's a wider player. So, you know, maybe he's a sort of wider player that cuts inside, like with the goal the club tweeted out from Huddersfield, where he's cut inside, almost like Phil Foden, and put it in top bins. If he can do something like that for us, he'll be a hell of a player for League One. I just hope Evans can actually get the tune out of him and, you know, hopefully has matured from his John Swift days as well.
Yeah. Kelly Phillips says Steve Evans arm ran a few players at Park and getting maybe a change. But what Steve Evans does in public, as it is for Paul Warne and Matt Taylor, what he does in public is different to what he does behind the scenes. Steve Evans is very, very good at coming across, certainly in his age now, as a granddad kind of figure, a lovable guy, and this, that, and the other. He's amazing at it, particularly in his interviews. Obviously, written stories of how he's treated people in the past, certain players in the past, and that's where mine and Mixon's concern comes from a little bit. But again, he might be a change man. Well, look, I don't care if it's a change man. If it works, I'll be buzzing. Ben, anything to add on all that?
I think he is. I think he is, because failing at what you failed at Leeds, right?
Yeah,
quite badly. That humbles you. You know, that humbles you as a person. It makes you step back, especially if you have some time away from that and kind of step back and look at it, and you kind of think back to the way he did treat some players and some of the stories that we've heard. But managers are so different in the changing rooms than they are in the press conferences.
Yeah,
because they put out a persona and whatever in the changing room, in the press conference. Sorry, it's complete opposite. Like you were talking about a Partgate thing about Clark Harris has had a heavy session. He might have tweaked his back. He might have tweaked his calf, but he's not going to say that. He's going to he's going to lie, but it's a different. It's making. I don't know. It's kind of putting out a different thing. But I think he's a change man, and I think he wouldn't have signed him if he knows that. He wouldn't have signed him, and he wouldn't come. You know what I mean? Unless this geezer's desperate to get back to England, with the amount of references he's got, I don't think he's got. He sounded like he's got a lot of options. So we're not paying him more money than everybody else. I doubt it. So he's obviously done his research, and he must be a smart guy, because there's got to be a reason why he's chose us over some other clubs. Unless Evans has sold him a dream, but that could be another possibility, and he might not be a changed man. But we'll find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else we need to mention, boys?
Yeah, just one more. Jamie Lindsay on his way to Bristol Rovers, by the looks of it, which is ironic, seeing as he's going to Bristol Rovers to the manager who refused to play him for us, which is a bit peculiar, bit of a strange move. But listen, Jamie Lindsay deserves first team football, and if he's not going to get it with us, then he should be playing it somewhere else. So it's just a bit of a peculiar one, that being as it's Matt Taylor.
We had a message on the Discord from Nikki Louise, Jimmy Lindsay's #1 fan, as is in the comments, and she was saying that they spoke to Jimmy Lindsay and he really, really enjoyed playing under Matt Taylor. Which is
well, fine, that's great.
Yeah. He played under Matt Taylor at that rare of occasion.
Yeah, was he injured though?
Good luck to Jamie Lindsay, because we all love him at this club.
Oh, God, yeah.
He is a typical Rotherham United player, and we love him to bits. And hopefully, he has a good season with him, except for 2 games.
Yeah, I had a joke with somebody on a chat earlier saying that the only reason he didn't go to Wrexham is because they didn't want to fork out for translator for documentary. Otherwise, they gone there.
Paul Mullins translator is enough cost, isn't it?
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Fantastic. I'm quite pleased with me an hour out of this. I'm surprised. There we are. Thank you all for being with us. We shall be back on Monday evening, as I say, to review whatever happens in Berlin on Sunday evening. Hopefully football will be home and it can join us on the podcast. We'd really, really appreciate that if we can get it on. We'll, Gareth's got a job to do first. And then, yeah, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, make sure you've done it on there as well, because we appreciate it. Well, less than a month to go till the season starts. So in a week or 2 weeks' time or so, things will start getting properly serious in terms of Rotherham United. Well, some prediction shows, and then the season will be here. Before you know it, the season will be here. So that's something we really look forward to. Ben, thank you. You've been compared to another Rotherham United football today, so good episode. Thank you. Danny, thank you very much as well, mate.
Yep, always a pleasure, lads. I'm going to go and nurse this bit of a hangover now with a cup of tea, I think.
Fair enough. And Mick, it's been fun.
And I haven't been compared to Rotherham United footballer.
Not any current ones.
There is a bit of Joe Scars about him at the minute, though.
No. What?
Oh, yeah, I'll set Matt off before the end of the podcast. Get him.
You kill me again. Anyway, thank you all for being with us. We will see you on Monday. Because it's coming home.
It's coming home. Come on.
Up the Millers.
Slides into Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box for Goffin, he can hit them, and he does. Oh! Goffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship